more than a superhero. He was a storyteller, a fighter, and a symbol of Black excellence. This is the story of Chadwick Boseman, the king who never quit. Chadwick Aaron Boseman was born on November 29, 1976, in Anderson, South Carolina. Raised in a working-class family, his mother was a nurse, and his father worked in a textile factory. Even as a child, Chadwick showed signs of deep introspection and creativity. In high school, he wrote and staged his first play after a classmate was tragically killed. That moment sparked a lifelong commitment to using storytelling for change. After high school, Chadwick attended Howard University, one of the most prestigious HBCUs, where he studied directing. Under the mentorship of actress Phylicia Rashad, his talent caught the attention of another legend, Denzel Washington. Denzel quietly paid Chadwick's tuition for a summer acting program at Oxford. Chadwick never forgot it. He said, "There is no Black Panther without Denzel Washington." From early on, Chadwick wasn't just acting. He was preparing to tell stories that would change the world. In 2013, Chadwick Boseman stepped into history, into the cleats, the courage, and the quiet strength of Jackie Robinson in the film 42. It wasn't just a breakout role, it was a declaration. The role demanded more than just acting chops. It required grace under pressure, dignity in silence, and the kind of soul that doesn't need to shout to be heard. Through Boseman, we saw not just a baseball legend, but a man navigating hatred with unshakable resolve. A man who broke barriers so others could dream. Then came Get On Up, a performance that felt electric. Chadwick didn't just play James Brown, he became him. The godfather of soul was known for his unpredictable brilliance, his rhythm, his voice, his raw magnetism. And Chadwick captured all of it. The strut, the fire, the pain behind the power. He didn't just imitate, he translated soul into cinema. In Marshall, he stepped into the sharply tailored suits of a young Thurgood Marshall, long before he sat on the Supreme Court bench. Here was a man who used the law as a sword against injustice, and Chadwick portrayed him with intelligence, charm, and that fearless energy that always defined his roles. With every character, Chadwick didn't just perform, he resurrected. He gave new life to titans of history. He made their stories personal, relatable, unforgettable. As Chadwick once said, "I don't want people to forget how they made us feel." And because of him, how he made us feel, we won't. His portrayals will echo for generations. A legacy etched not just in film, but in the hearts of all who watched. In 2018, the world was introduced to King T'Challa in Black Panther. It wasn't just a movie, it was a movement. The film became a cultural landmark, breaking box office records and earning over $1.3 billion worldwide. But more than numbers, Black Panther gave Black audiences, especially children, something they had waited generations for. A superhero who looked like them, led like them, and ruled with grace and wisdom. For so long, mainstream heroes in blockbuster films didn't reflect the reality or richness of Black identity. But here was Wakanda, a thriving African nation untouched by colonization, powered by intelligence, innovation, and legacy. Chadwick Boseman stood at the center of that universe. As T'Challa, he was stoic and just. He wasn't flashy or loud. He was calm, deliberate, a leader who thought before acting. That portrayal shattered stereotypes of Black masculinity often seen in Hollywood. His performance was commanding yet deeply human. Whether confronting grief, tradition, or betrayal, Chadwick brought a sense of stillness and emotional gravity to the screen. He didn't just wear the crown, he earned it. Off-screen, Boseman was no less inspiring. Cast and crew spoke about his quiet strength, his humility, and his sense of purpose. To him, Black Panther was bigger than cinema. It was about legacy. It was about responsibility. It was about representation. The impact was immediate and lasting. Children dressed up as T'Challa for Halloween. Families lined up in African attire to attend premieres. Black communities around the globe felt seen, celebrated, and empowered. And then came that iconic gesture, arms crossed over the chest, Wakanda Forever. It became a cultural anthem, a symbol of pride, power, and solidarity. Chadwick never sought the spotlight for himself, But with this role, he stepped into something larger than life. Through him, we saw what a Black king could be: regal, powerful, grounded, human. While the world celebrated Chadwick Boseman's rise to fame, very few knew that behind the scenes, he was fighting a battle far greater than any role could reveal. In 2016, just as his star was ascending, Chadwick was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. It later advanced to stage 4, but he chose to keep it private. There were no public announcements, no interviews about it, no signs of slowing down. He continued to film some of the most physically demanding and emotionally intense roles of his career, all while undergoing surgeries and chemotherapy. During this time, he starred in Marshall, Black Panther, 21 Bridges, Day 5 Bloods, and his final role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Each film required strength, endurance, and focus, and yet he showed up, day after day, with unwavering commitment. In interviews and public appearances during his final years, Chadwick sometimes appeared thinner, quieter, more reserved. Some fans took notice and even speculated or criticized his changing appearance. But what they didn't know, what very few knew, was that he was enduring grueling treatments and surgeries behind the scenes, all while continuing to work at the highest level. Despite the whispers and the assumptions, Chadwick never spoke out about his condition. He never asked for sympathy or explained his struggle. Instead, he stayed focused on what mattered most to him: his craft, his purpose, and the people he inspired. He let the work speak for him, and in doing so, he taught the world a lesson in grace, resilience, and quiet strength. To those close to him, Chadwick was focused on legacy, on using whatever time he had left to uplift, inspire, and create. He visited children in hospitals, donated to causes, and mentored young actors, even while undergoing treatment himself. His resilience was not loud. It was deeply personal and profound. He bore the weight of two worlds, the one that celebrated him and the one that was slowly breaking him down. In one of his final messages to a graduating class, he said, "Purpose is the reason you journey. Passion is the fire that lights your way." In those words, we see a glimpse of how he endured, how he chose purpose over pain and passion over fear. Chadwick Boseman's quiet fight was as heroic as any role he played. His strength, even in silence, became part of his legacy. On August 28, 2020, the world came to a standstill. Chadwick Boseman passed away at the age of 43 after a 4-year battle with colon cancer that he had kept hidden from the public. The news was a shock. No one was prepared. Fans, celebrities, world leaders, and everyday people flooded the internet with disbelief and grief. Tributes poured in from all corners of the globe. Landmarks lit up in purple and gold. Artists painted murals. Children dressed up as T'Challa for one final salute. In cities across the world, candlelight vigils were held to honor not just the actor, but the man behind the mask. A man who gave everything, even in silence. His passing left a void, but his presence has never left us. His performances continue to inspire. His interviews are now studied like wisdom from a prophet, and his legacy reminds us that representation isn't just about roles, it's about responsibility. Chadwick opened doors for a new generation of Black filmmakers and actors, proving that blockbuster success and cultural pride could exist in the same frame. He didn't just play the hero, he lived like one. He changed the narrative for good. In every classroom where a child proudly raises their arms and says, "Wakanda Forever," Chadwick's spirit lives on. In every aspiring actor from an HBCU or a small town who now dares to dream bigger, he lives on. He reminded us that Black stories are global stories. In Hollywood, where the path for Black actors has long been narrow, Chadwick carved a trail with integrity, grace, and unforgettable talent. He didn't just make movies, he made meaning. His final role may have ended, but his story never will. Because Chadwick Boseman was more than a star. He was a symbol, a king, a legacy, and he will forever be remembered as such.